honest? Sometimes it comes. What are you going to say when the job that you have, they're laying people off? Or you can't find a job? Lord, you know, I've been looking and I've been looking. But at some point you have to say, but God, I know. You have promised me. You have said that you would take care of me and my family. I remember years ago, I was only laid off once in my life. And this was years and years ago. I was laid off from a job. And for 3 months, I was laid off. And this is what I did. I believed God. So I would get up in the morning and pack a lunch like I was going to work. And I would go out to places and knock on the doors. And this is the days before you had the internet and you could fill out an application online. You know, you had to physically go there. And I physically went, knocked on the door. I'm looking for work. I'm looking for a job. I need some work. I did that for 3 months. And the Lord spoke to my wife and said, have him call a man that he met over a year ago. I'm like, Lord, why did it take you 3 months to hook this up? You know, why didn't you hook it up the next day? Come on now. I'm not the only one that thinks like this. Why? Exactly. I had to walk through it. I had to walk by faith. I had to believe God and know that God was going to supply my every need. I had to know that God was going to look out for me and my family. I had a wife and I had 2 little children. I said, Lord, I've got a family. I've got a wife. I've got 2 little children. They're dependent upon me to make sure that they eat and they're taken care of. They have a roof over their head. You have anointed and appointed me to be the man of this house. So therefore, Lord, I look to you. To take care of me, to meet my need. But I believe you. So therefore, I'm going out like I got a job every day. And I just didn't sit in the park and throw peanuts at the squirrels or breadcrumbs at the pigeons. I knocked on some doors. Y'all hear what I'm saying? I was actively looking. Every 8 hours, she's right, 8 hours a day. I'd get up religiously every day looking for that job. Because I knew God had one for me. I didn't know where it was, but I knew he had one for me. And all my looking, it wasn't there, but that's all right because see, he saw my faith walk. He saw the fact that I was serious. That I was not going to just sit there and say, woe is me. Because that's not going to put any money in my pocket. I had to do something. And so as I knocked on those doors, then he spoke to my wife and said, have him call a man, this particular man I had not spoke to in over a year. So he said, call him. So I called him up. I said, I don't know if you remember me. This is Dave Spearman. He says, oh, yes, I remember you. He said, we sat in my office and we talked for about 2-3 hours. He was a fellow believer. And all we talked about was Christ. We never talked about the job. He said, yeah. He said, what can I do for you? I said, well, I'm in need of a job. He said, give me your number. I gave him my number. He says, I'll call you right back. That's all he said. About an hour later or so, he called me back. He said, go to such and such place on such and such day. He said, now, do you know where that's at? I said, no. He gave me directions how to get there. He said, you be there. They're going to interview you for a job. He said, don't you worry. I got you. I went there, never took a test. It wasn't even a field of study or a field I want to be involved with. But that's all right, because I needed a job. I just needed a job at the time. I think if I get my foot in the door, I can move up. And I went and I sat, and I didn't know this at the time, but the 3 gentlemen who interviewed me were the 3 top gentlemen in the institution. I didn't know who they were. I just thought they were some guys, you know, interviewing me. And I was the only interview they had. And then when they got done, they said, somehow it came up about Christ. So I said, yes, I'm a believer. I love Jesus. They said, and I said, and then they said, well, it was a prison. I went to work at it. And they said, now you can't, you're going to be around here, telling these guys about Jesus. I said, this is what I'm going to do. I said, if somebody asks me what I believe, I'm going to tell them what I believe. I'm not going to keep my mouth shut about that because I'm not ashamed of Jesus. I said, you pay me X amount of dollars to function here, I will do my job. But I also tell anyone who asks me about Jesus. They said, good enough. You're hired. Hired me on the spot. All because, and I'm telling you this, all because I believed God. The Bible says Abraham's faith was accounted as righteousness. When you walk by faith, when you believe God every step of the way, no matter what it is that comes up, no matter what you're facing, the Israelites were facing, they were going to leave out of Egypt broke and poor. But God set it up so they left out of Egypt rich, with plenty. They're going to leave out of Egypt barely with the clothes on their back, the few little animals, their kneading bowls, and that's it. But they left out with the gold and the silver and the jewels of Egypt. I'm telling you this because God will open a door for you. And don't think, well, Lord, I can't take this job. You take whatever God has for you because you never know what's behind the next door. You never know how God is going to bring you through. That same job. I was just a prison guard. I had a college education and all that, but I was just a prison guard. But you know something, in less than 1 year, see, you never know what God is going to do. In less than 1 year, they moved me up to prison counselor. I no longer had to break doors. Now I'm sitting there talking, and I'm doing parole reports and determining whether the guy goes home or not. Had opportunity to even move up higher. I moved from that prison to another prison after so many years and went to this other prison. The guy told me, the deputy warden said to me, he says, look, now, they're going to open up the Max, Spearman. I said, yeah, I understand that. He says, I want you to come with me. I said, well, no, I don't know, man. Before I was at like a close to maximum custody institution, and I'd been there, done that for like 8-9 years. But then I went to a medium custody institution, and that was, so much better. Less fights. Really, it was just less fights. Less fights I had to be involved with and get into. And so, and I got battle scars to prove it too. But he said, but I want you to come over there with me. He says, now I'll bring you over in a custody capacity, which would have been a lieutenant, because that was my equivalent to, in pay. He said, I'll bring you over there. He says, but in less than 6 months, I'll make you captain. I said, well, brother, you do run a hard bargain, but I said, here's the problem. I'm a minister of the gospel of Jesus Christ. I have a church, and God has told me that this church comes first. I said, and if I do that, I said, then I'll be working Sundays and this, all kind of crazy schedule. I said, and I'm not going to do that because I've got to do the work of the Lord. So I had opportunities. I want you to understand that God opened doors, and some doors open up just by themselves. Because, listen, when you have the favor of God, people recognize the favor of God or the hand of God on you. People recognize that, and there are people who want to be involved in your life because they see the hand of God is on you.